Shalom, Shalom Israel. I am the brother Yawana from the Great Millstone, Arizona camp, coming back at y'all with Lord's will, another edifying lesson. First and foremost, as always, before we start, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachachodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, our teachers. Shalom to you brothers pushing and teaching this truth across the four winds of this earth. And as always, peace, blessings, and many salutations be to you sincere Akyam wa Akwath, you brothers, along with you few sisters, who are given all diligence in these last days. Right, through the mercy and grace of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, coming back with another update and prophecy type lesson. And this is going to be off of the People's Voice.tv. And the headline, it reads, Bill Gates unveils global digital ID, which will erase non-compliant humans from society. Now, we know at the end of the day, okay, that in these last days, we are approaching, right, an end time prophecy, okay, known as the hour of temptation, pursuant to Revelation 3 and 10. Okay, and in this hour of temptation, okay, there is going to be a mark, okay, a physical digital little electronic grain of rice that is going to be made mandatory, and it's going to be forced, upon the masses in order to buy and to sell. And we're going to get right into that before we get into the article, because we are getting very close to this prophecy, which is very important to understand, because this is one of the last major prophecies that has to happen and that will happen before the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay, which again, this prophecy is near. This is Revelation 13 and verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right, and that causeth goes into, causing one or making one do something. Right, matter of fact, let me go straight to it. We're going to just go to it in the Greek. Right, there's the Greek word for the word causeth, and it's Strong's G4160 in the blue letter. And as we scroll down, it says the definition I, to make one do something, cause one to, okay, to do a thing unto one, right? And that's pretty much the point. Okay, so there's coming a time very, very soon in the near future where there's going to be a mark, which when you go into this word mark, all right, which is charagma, right, in the Greek, Strong's G5480. It says a stamp and imprinted mark. It says of the mark stamped on the forehead of the right hand as the badge of the followers of the anti-Hamashiach. Because really, once you take that mark, once you take that electronic grain of rice, okay, you've pretty much shown who your God is. You've shown who you bow down to. Okay, and at the end of the day, if you take it, you're doomed, you're cursed. It says the mark branded upon horses, thing carved, sculpture, graven work. Okay, which again, this is literally going into the physical mark, okay, which is a digital device that's going to be input. It was going to be implanted within you if you take it. It says, and this is the Greek word charax, which is the root word of the word charagma. And it says a pale or stake, a palisade or rampart, okay, which is, this is ultimately, this word is going into the instrument that's going to be used to implant the mark of the beast or the charagma right within you, which is a syringe. And then we understand once you go into the Greek word of charax, you get grapho, which means to write, to be written, okay, because once you take that mark of the beast, you are now a part of Esau's system. All right, this is Revelation 13 and 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So we're coming into a time where you're not going to be able to buy or sell, right, live in society unless you receive that mark. But we understand through faith, right, and understanding of the scriptures and understanding of prophecy that we are forbidden to take it. Okay, we are forbidden to take it, man. I might as well get into the judgment, because we go into the prophecy, but there's also a judgment that comes with taking that mark. It's not a light thing in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord doesn't care if you say, oh, well, I got to get it for me and my kids. Well, if you have faith, the Lord will take care of you and your family. Okay, and it's that very thought that people are going to have in the days ahead. Oh, my kids, oh, this, oh, that, where they're going to make a faithless-based decision, and it's going to have them subject to this prophecy. It's Revelation 14 and verse 9, the next chapter. It says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." And so you're going to be tormented, okay, with fire and brimstone, which translates to what? Nuclear fire, okay, because that's ultimately the destruction that is predestinated for America, aka Babylon the Great, right? And all those that are wicked, man, okay? It says, "And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever," by a period of time, "and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." See, so if you receive that mark, you're going to be tormented, man. You're going to be burnt up with fire. And this is why, we warn through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemal Shai, right, of this prophecy, because now as we see, this prophecy is getting closer and closer. And these articles that we read, like this one in particular, shows us that we're gradually getting closer. All right, Yahweh Shai said to do what? To watch and pray, right? Watch for what? The prophecies, man. Watch for the signs. Okay, watch for the indicators of the end, approaching. All right. And we already seen, what they're doing over there in the UK. They're pretty much mandating all adults to be able, to take a digital ID. Okay, which again is, a major step, right, towards a cashless and digital society. It says, "This is not a drill. For years, we've been warning about the coming system of digital control. Gates, the UN, the global elite, all moving in lockstep to build what they openly call the model of the future." Because in their mind, a better world is where they have complete surveillance and control over everything you do, over everything you buy, over everywhere you go, over everything you think. Right? We got to remember 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter, these devils believe that they are God himself. All right. It says, "Now it's here. In Britain, the so-called Brit card, mandatory digital ID. In China, elders forced to scan their faces just to buy food or claim their pensions, right? The biometrics. And that's how they condition you to get ready for the ultimate rollout, where it's not going to be, finger scans because even like at my job specifically, to be able to clock in and out, you have to scan your finger, which is a form of biometrics, right? Finger scans, eye retina scans, okay, facial recognition, that's all part of biometrics. And we use it so commonly throughout our day-to-day. Even, you have Apple Pay, or you open your phone and it scans your face, so we already used, to this technology. And again, that's what you would consider them conditioning us. But at the end of the day, when I say us, I'm referring to the people as a whole, right? Not us of the faith, because we understand once again that we can't take this mark, right? And even though we do use certain biometrics and whatnot, we understand it's not the mark, right? It says, "In China, elders forced to scan their faces just to buy food or claim their pensions. And behind it all, the blueprint to merge your banking, voting, medical, and I don't want to read that word, into one cage of total surveillance. This is the moment history will remember, the day freedom stood on the edge of extinction, and yet almost nobody is paying attention." That's right, nobody's paying attention because they're more concerned with what's going on with these celebrities, these streamers, okay, these different influencers. People are more worried about the entertainment, what's going on in the sports industry. People are not really reading these articles because in their mind, why does it matter, right? Why does it matter, okay, that they want to roll out a digital ID? People are like, well, fuck, if I got to get it and, that means I get it and I'm not, I got to worry about nothing. I can still pay my bills and feed my kids, and people are just going to do it. People will conform to everything so that they can have their comforts. Once those comforts are threatened, all right, or those luxuries are threatened, that's when people want to start paying attention, man. It says, but like I said, that's a heavy statement. The day freedom stood on the edge of extinction, because something that the World Economic Forum, one of their slogans, I believe Klaus Schwab had said, right, which is the founder of the World Economic Forum. All right, he said that you will own nothing and be happy. That's their ultimate plan, right, for you people, right, for you Israelites, specifically, is that you will own nothing and that you will be happy. right? That's a complete twisted, mindset to have, for the future of somebody else. But again, they're cruel, man. Scripture say the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. All right. The Lord has put over us a very cruel and unjust king. It says that's why we're here. Because once you hear what we've uncovered tonight, you'll understand. Let's keep going. It says, first things first, we're owed an apology. We were the ones who broke the story about Bill Gates' plan to roll out digital IDs across Western nations, warning that anyone refusing to adopt his technology would be excluded from society, right? And eventually, when they do roll this thing out, right, that mark of the beast, those who revolt or those who go against it, okay, are going to be subject to punishment, right, banishment, and or death. It says, what happened next? A global swarm of fact-checkers descended on our reporting, working in perfect lockstep as if they'd been handed marching orders from above to smear our articles and bury the truth. And that's what Esau is going to ultimately try to do, bury the truth and uphold the lies, man. Deceit is one of his major tools that he's weaponized against the people, man, and he's very skilled. But that deceit, is waning, right? It says, but as always, time is the ultimate referee. Just a few short years later, our reporting stands proven, while the so-called fact-checkers have been exposed for what they really are. Liars, oh, that's the spirit. Frauds and professional gaslighters. What's unfolding right now across the world is nothing short of terrifying. In the UK, Bill Gates wasted no time. Meeting with Prime Minister Keir Starmer just days after his election, and now like clockwork, the government has announced a rollout of mandatory digital ID. This is happening in real time in the UK, where you're being forced to take a mandatory digital ID for you to be able to have a job, for you to be able to buy, for you to be able to sell, for you to be able to get food, for you to put gas in your car, have a job. This is serious news, man. This is no joke. And guess what? If you refuse to comply, you'll be excluded from society. Right on cue, the conspiracy theory becomes a conspiracy fact. That's the thing, man. A lot of people, put the title conspiracy theory on truth, to pretty much discredit it, right? But hey, over time, the truth begins to show itself. As the scriptures say in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, concerning the vision is yet from a point in time. But at the end, it will speak, man. A lot of people say, what our elder apostles of Great Millstone have taught concerning this prophecy. A lot of people have said that, it's not true. That's a false breakdown. But as time continues to go, as time continues to move forward, we're starting to see this prophecy bloom, all right, through these different gradual steps that they're taking towards it, man, right? That these Edomites are taking towards that prophecy being fulfilled. So as time goes on, we're seeing that the real breakdown of that prophecy is that breakdown that our elder apostle of Great Millstone have broken down for years, man, before, the internet was even up, man, which shows that they're the true prophets. It says, but it gets even worse because they're not stopping there. It's not enough to lock the resistors out of society, to plunge them into poverty and dependence. Now Gates is moving to the next phase, linking the digital ID you're being forced to accept to his other so-called conspiracy, mandatory you-know-whats. This isn't speculation anymore. This is the blueprint unfolding right before our eyes. This is an emergency. What was once dismissed as a conspiracy theory is now unfolding as cold, hard reality. The global elite are moving in lockstep, and the UN has just leveraged its vast network of agencies, treaties, and partner governments to impose a mandatory digital ID system. And one thing about the UK and France and overseas, when just rewind time and go back to the time of the C-19, okay, there was a lot of different draconian laws and measures that were being taken overseas, again, in France, in the UK. I believe it was even in Australia, man. The Prime Minister said we're going to make life most miserable for those who refuse the jabs, man. So that was, all what we were seeing happen overseas. Eventually, we saw it take place over here. All right, not as intense as in other states and other places, but nevertheless, the point is, everything that happens overseas eventually takes place over here in time, and that of real soon, man. All right, it says, working in the shadows, they are constructing the infrastructure of total control. A digital cage is being built around every man, woman, and child, a system designed to track, monitor, and ultimately dictate participation in society. It says, as Dr. Sherry Tenpenny warns, this is the critical moment. If people do not wake up now, the digital cage will slam shut around us all. If you're shocked to learn the Trump administration is tied to this plan, if it sounds impossible, think again. Because Israel are driving this globalist plot to surveil and control global society. And when Israel says jump, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, has gone on record condemning the UK's mandatory digital ID, denouncing it as nothing less than the mark of the beast foretold in the book of Revelation. See, that's the spirit. Okay, you see that? So the truth is coming out and is being seen, and it can't be denied anymore, man. A lot of you camps out there teach that the mark of the beast is not the RFID micro C hip, but hey, you're gonna have to answer, right? You know, you're gonna have to give an account, okay, when this prophecy comes to pass, because it surely will, man. You even have the El Salvador's president, you know, saying that this is the mark of the beast, the mandatory digital ID. And he's not wrong. I mean, he's wrong in the sense that he says the mark of the beast, right? Because the digital ID is not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is the micro C-hip, all right? But he is right because, in a sense, because this is what that's leading to. It says Bukele warned that this isn't just a British experiment. He pointed to Bill Gates' long-running push for digital ID systems and the United Nations' quiet global rollout of the same Gates-sponsored framework. According to Bukele, this is the first visible phase of a coordinated globalist plan to link people's movements, finances, and you-know-what status into one universal control grid. World has shaken their image of invincibility. They need to regain control of the masses, to brainwash, coerce, and push them back into line. At the center, let me see how much we got left. Just know we still got us a little bit left. Let's go down. Let's go down here. It says your health data, your genomic data will be used to ensure you stay up to date with the mandatory you-know-what schedule the elites have lined up for you. Don't believe me? Tony Blair has boasted about it himself. In China, this system is already a grim reality. Elderly citizens are forced to line up for facial scans just to verify their you-know-what status before they can enter a food market and buy groceries. You see that? This is the times that we're in, man. Right? Where this prophecy is getting ready to come in what's the word? Well, it's about to come into full effect. Oh, the scripture say in Ezekiel the 12th chapter that now is the time for the effect of every vision. Right? All these prophecies that we read about and that we continue to teach and we hear, they're getting ready to happen. And in particular, right, Revelation 13, verse 16 through 17. Right over there in China, you have to scan your face to show your jab status so that you can be qualified to get food, man, to get water. So if you just imagine you didn't take that jab and you scan your face, now you have no access to food. You see? It says the threat is explicit. Refuse the shot and you risk losing access to your pension, which in China also requires a facial scan to claim. For years, the globalist elite have openly hailed China as the model state for surveillance and control. And that's right. You know, America is going to really take on, you know, a social credit system, which is what China upholds. Okay, to where if you're not living up to the governmental standard, right, or the standard that's put upon society, then you're going to be excluded from it, right? It says the blueprint they intend to replicate in the West. Want a glimpse of what the future looks like? This is how digital ID already operates in China. We've been sounding the alarm for years. Now it's red alert. The very system we warned about is unfolding before our eyes. We can't do this alone. Right? They say you need your voice and whatnot, but at the end of the day, this is going to happen regardless of people wanting to or not. Let's go here, since I quoted it, to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 12. All right, and bear with me. And verse 20, I'm going to start at verse 21 in the NLT on the right-hand side. It reads, again, a message came to me from the Lord, Son of man. You've heard that proverb they quote in Israel. Time passes and prophecies come to nothing. And that's what our people say. All you all do is teach and teach and teach, but nothing ever happens. Well, let's continue to read. Tell the people, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will put an end to this proverb, and you will soon stop quoting it. Now give them this new proverb to replace the old one. The time has come for every prophecy to be fulfilled, and that's the time that we're in now. These last few prophecies are getting ready to happen. There will be no more false visions and flattering predictions in Israel. For I am the Lord. If I say it, it will happen. There will be no more delays, you rebels of Israel. I will fulfill my threat of destruction in your own lifetime. See that? Lord saying he's going to do all of this in your lifetime. People say, oh, if it could happen, but that's going to be years from now. The technology is already here. The technology is here, and they're already making mandatory digital IDs in the UK, and it's just a matter of time before they do it everywhere else. A lot of different places in the world are already going cashless, so everything is set in place for this prophecy to come into full effect. Okay, and we will see it take place in our lifetime, man. It says, I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken, see? So right now is the time to seek Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, and Lord willing, in seeking the Lord, he will ultimately have mercy on you, okay, and protect you in that time. All right, but let's actually read it real quick. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. And I'm reading in the NLT on the right-hand side. Because you have obeyed my command to persevere, right, you brothers and you sisters out there continuing to fight, continuing to keep the faith, continuing to pray, continuing to hope, continuing to believe, the Lord is going to do what? I will protect you from the great time of testing that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world. You see that? The time we're coming into when this prophecy is fulfilled, it's going to test who belong to the Lord and who belong to the world. Okay, the line is going to be drawn in the sand, and it's going to be clear to see who's really for the light and who's for the darkness, man. But see, the Lord said because we kept his command and persevered, right, he's going to protect us in that time. You know, so don't worry too much on how or when the Lord is going to come through. Just believe he is. Okay, the Lord is the rewarder of them that diligently seek him, man. And this time, again, is a time to seek the Lord. Right, so if you continue to seek the Lord and do your best, just understand and trust the Lord will do the rest, man. All right? And Yahweh Shai said it best. He said, take no thought for your life, for what ye shall eat, for your body, for what ye shall wear. Roughly paraphrasing, man, the Lord knows what we need, and he's going to provide for us in those times, as he's saying right here clearly. Lord willing, we be of the elect. But that was all I really had in the spirit. Just wanted to blow the trumpet on this article. There's a lot of meat in here. Right, there's a lot going on. Again, they're already doing mandatory digital IDs in the UK. It's just a matter of time before they do it here, which would make perfect sense as they work towards fulfilling the mandatory rollout of the MOTB. So with that, I do hope and pray this was edifying and informative. Of course, as always, before I end off, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Rachachodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, our teachers. Shalom to you brothers pushing and teaching this truth. Until next time, Lord's will, I say shalom, stay strong, and keep the faith. Shalom.